The galaxy had forgotten humans. 10,000 years of alien rule had pushed our species into the shadows. Small worlds, small ships, small dreams. Every major empire in the Orion Arm believed one thing. Humanity was weak. And they were right, until one man changed everything. His name was Jaden Cross, a former miner, a nobody, a man with no army, no fame, and no power. Yet within a single cycle, this ordinary human forced the most feared being in the galaxy, the ancient Vora Emperor, ruler of 1,000 worlds, to rise from his throne for the first time in 6 centuries. Aliens whispered his name in fear. Humans whispered it in hope. But here is the part no one tells you. Jaden Cross never wanted a war. He only wanted to protect one small colony. One small girl. One small promise he made many years ago. What followed reshaped every star map ever drawn. But the truth behind how it started will shock you. Because the Emperor did not challenge the human. The human challenged him. And the reason why. I'll reveal it soon. But first, let me show you exactly how it all began. Jaden Cross was born on Ravel 9, a forgotten mining moon on the edge of the Vora Empire. It was rough, cold, and dangerous. Every home was metal, every sky was gray, every breath tasted like dust. Humans there worked in ore tunnels owned by rich alien lords. They dug until their hands bled. They slept in small metal rooms. They hoped for nothing more than enough oxygen credit to survive the next month. But Jaden was different. He wasn't stronger. He wasn't smarter. He wasn't faster. He simply refused to break. When he was 12, the mining tunnels collapsed. A young girl named Myra, only 7 at the time, was trapped under a fallen support beam. Everyone else ran. The overseers ordered the tunnels sealed. But Jaden didn't listen. With one dull tool and torn hands, he clawed through burning metal and toxic dust for 6 hours until he pulled Myra free. From that day on, she followed him everywhere. "You saved me," she always said. "Now I'll make sure you never stand alone." Years passed. Jaden became a salvage worker on the outer ridge of the moon. Myra joined a small colony defense team. Life wasn't good, but it wasn't bad either. Humans like them weren't meant to rise. They were meant to survive. And they did. Until the day the ancient emperor awakened. The Vora Emperor, ruler of the largest empire in the Orion Arm, was not just old. He was ancient, older than Earth's recorded history. His kind lived for millennia, their bodies sustained by a mixture of biotechnology and alien rituals lost to most species. He did not govern worlds. He owned them. And on a cold dawn, without warning, his ships arrived over Ravel 9. Massive, black, silent. The colony leaders trembled. Why would the Emperor visit a useless mining moon? Why would he care about humans? But then rumors spread. An ancient artifact had been found in the mines. A sphere of unknown origin. Something older than the Emperor himself. The moment the Emperor learned this, he sent his elite soldiers, the Vora sovereigns, to seize it. That same morning, the colony alarms screamed. Red lights shaking ground, falling dust. Myra ran out of the defender barracks, armor half on. Jaden rushed from the salvage bay, hands covered in grease. Through the sky, they saw them. Sovereign dropships, hundreds. Myra grabbed Jaden's arm. "They'll kill anyone who resists." But something else happened. Something small, but everything changed because of it. A single sovereign soldier threw Myra aside during a search sweep. Hard, too hard. Her head struck a metal pillar. She fell unmoving. They didn't even look back. Jaden did. And the moment he saw her on the ground, something inside him snapped. His heart turned cold. His fear died. Something new formed in its place. A promise. He lifted Myra in his arms as alarms wailed across the moon. She was breathing, but weak. She needed medicine the colony barely had. And then, before anyone understood what he was doing, Jaden walked straight toward the sovereign command post. A human, unarmed, alone, marching toward the Empire's strongest warriors. No one in the galaxy had seen anything like it. and no one understood what he was planning, not yet. Because the real story, the one history would remember, did not begin with a war. It began with a single human demanding something impossible, and the Emperor's soldiers laughing at him. Now here's where things get really interesting. When Jadden reached the sovereign post, two towering alien guards blocked his path. They were almost 3 meters tall, armored in living metal that shifted like breathing scales. They stared down at him as if he were an insect. "State your purpose, human," one growled. Jadden's voice was calm, too calm. "My friend is hurt," he said. "Your soldier did it. I want a medical kit." The guards looked at each other. Then they laughed. Not normal laughter. Mocking, cruel, loud. "You want aid. You think the sovereigns carry supplies for humans. You think your kind matters." Jadden didn't move. "Give me the kits," he repeated. The guard leaned down, 3-fingered claws tapping Jadden's chest. "Or what, you'll fight us?" Jadden looked him in the eyes. "Yes." That single word froze the air. Humans didn't talk like that. Humans didn't threaten sovereigns. Humans didn't stare death in the face and refuse to blink. But Jadden did. A small crowd of miners gathered, whispers spread. Something unusual was happening, something dangerous. The first guard shoved Jadden. Hard. He stumbled but didn't fall. And then he stepped forward again. The second guard snarled and pulled out an energy baton. "Back away, human," or crack. Jadden moved faster than any miner ever had. He grabbed a metal pipe from the salvage cart beside him, rusted, dented, worthless, yet in his hands it became a weapon. He struck the guard's wrist. The baton flew. The guard roared in pain. The crowd gasped. The sovereigns froze. No human had ever struck one before. Ever. But Jadden wasn't done. Not yet. He picked up the fallen baton, pressed the activation switch, and pointed the humming energy blade at the guards. "Bring me the medic," he said quietly. "Now." The aliens hesitated. Not because he could beat them, but because of something far more dangerous. Sovereigns were trained from birth to sense intent. And Jadden's intent was clear. He was ready to die. He was ready to kill. And he would not step aside until Myra lived. A young sovereign officer stepped out of the command tent. His armor was darker, marked with the Emperor's crest. He studied Jadden for a long time. Then he spoke. "Human, do you know what happens to those who raise weapons against the Empire?" Jadden tightened his grip. "I don't care." The officer tilted his head. "A curious creature you are, brave, foolish, dangerous." He waved to a soldier. "Give him the kit." The guards turned, shocked. "Commander," he attacked. "Give it to him," the officer repeated. One soldier fetched a case and tossed it at Jadden's feet. Jadden lowered the baton, picked up the kit, and backed away slowly. The officer watched him go. And then he said something no one expected. "Send a message to the Emperor." The guard stiffened. "The Emperor about him?" "Yes," the officer said. "Tell him this human shows potential." This was the moment everything changed. This was the first crack in the Empire's armor. This was the first step toward a war no one wanted, but everyone would fear. The human walked away with a medical kit. But the Emperor, he now knew his name. And he was watching. Plot twist. Jadden didn't know it yet, but the officer who spared him was not being kind. He was marking Jadden, tagging him, preparing him for something far worse than death. And the Emperor, he was already planning their first meeting. But wait, the sovereigns weren't the only ones watching Jadden that day. Something older was watching too. Something hidden deep beneath the mines. Something awakening. And soon Jadden would feel its call. Jadden reached the medic's shelter, breathing hard, legs shaking. He knelt beside Myra and opened the kit with trembling hands. The sterile foam hissed as he applied it to her wound. Her pulse steadied. Her breathing eased. She opened her eyes weakly. "Jadden, what did you do?" He didn't answer. Outside, sovereign troops regrouped, whispering about the human who dared fight them. Some looked angry, some looked wary, a few looked almost impressed. But deep in the minds, something else stirred. A pulse, a whisper, a strange hum that only one person in the entire colony could hear. Jadon. His head throbbed, his vision blurred. For a moment he saw something impossible. A chamber, glowing lines on stone. A sphere floating above a pedestal. A voice calling his name, not in words but in feeling. He staggered. Myra grabbed his hand. Jadon, what's wrong? I don't know. But the truth was clear. The artifact wasn't calling the Emperor. It was calling him. And the Emperor knew it. That was why the sovereigns had come. Not for the artifact alone. Not for the colony. But for Jadon. Because the Vora Emperor had lived long enough to sense destiny. And Jadon Cross had become a threat to everything he ruled. This brings us to the moment where the real story begins. And trust me, what happens next is even more shocking. The Emperor's voice echoed through the hall again. I will show you why humans kneel before me. He raised a single finger. A hologram appeared in the air. It showed Earth, blue-green alive. Then it showed dozens of alien ships around it. Human ships fought them. Fragile, small, burning. The alien ships did not fire lasers. They fired beams of pure gravity. Each shot folded a human ship like paper. People screamed. Signals went dark. The Emperor looked at Jalen. You fought a patrol fleet, but this, he pointed at the hologram, this is what awaits your home, my armada. Jalen stepped forward. You threaten billions for what? Control, fear, your pride. The Emperor laughed. You misunderstand, human. This is not pride, this is prophecy. Jalen froze. Prophecy? What prophecy? He asked. The Emperor began walking down the steps of his throne. Every alien warrior bowed their head as he passed. Except Jalen. The Emperor stopped only a few feet away from the human and spoke softly. You are the prophecy. The hall fell silent. Jalen felt the weight of the Emperor's stare. Explain, Jalen said quietly. You think you are the first human to challenge me? The Emperor whispered. You are the last. Jalen frowned. Last, what do you mean? The Emperor lifted his hand. And suddenly, a giant circular portal opened above them. Ghostly shapes moved inside it. Human shapes. Hundreds of them. Warriors, commanders, rebels, leaders, heroes. All wearing different armor from different centuries. All frozen in glowing blue energy. Jalen's heart dropped. What is this? The Emperor looked proud. Every few centuries a human rises, strong, defiant, impossible to break. You are one of them. Jalen stepped back. This can't be real. The Emperor continued. For 10,000 years your species has produced champions. You call them myths, legends, lost heroes, men and women who vanished from history. He raised his chin. They did not vanish, I took them. Jalen felt sick. You captured them, all of them. Yes, the Emperor said calmly. Your species produces anomalies, humans with impossible strength of will, impossible courage, impossible instinct. I require them. Jalen clenched his fists. For what? The Emperor finally revealed the truth. For their minds. Jalen blinked. What? The Emperor turned and pointed toward the swirling portal again. These humans contain something no other species has. A spark, a fire, something beyond biological function. He turned back to Jalen. Your kind can sense possibility. You can imagine what does not exist. You can create futures with sheer thought. Jalen stepped back again. You harvest imagination. The Emperor smiled. I harness it. The hall felt colder. The Emperor continued. You humans create hope out of nothing, fear out of shadows, strategies out of dust, stories out of pain. No other species can do this. He walked closer until he was inches from Jalen. You are creators of destiny, the only species that dreams with open eyes. Jalen whispered, why us? The Emperor's smile faded. Because my empire is dying. The hall's torches flickered. The armored stars, the Emperor said. My eternal empire, once infinite, is collapsing. My people have no imagination left. They cannot advance. They cannot invent. They cannot dream. Jalen stared in shock. The Emperor's voice lowered. Your species is the fuel my empire needs to survive. He touched the glowing portal. This machine absorbs the minds of your champions, their creativity, their dreams, their will, their fire, and it feeds my empire energy. Jalen whispered, You're draining them. Yes, the Emperor said, and when they are empty, they turn to dust. Jalen felt anger burn inside him. You monster. The Emperor leaned close. You call me monster, but listen well, human. He pointed up again. Without your species, the universe collapses. Jalen frowned. What are you talking about? The Emperor gave the biggest revelation yet. You humans are the source of all evolution. Jalen froze. That's impossible. The Emperor shook his head. No, it is truth. Across the galaxy, every era of advancement, every leap in technology, warfare, philosophy, exploration, happens only after humans rise. You are the spark that ignites change. Jalen felt the weight of his words. The universe waits for your species to think of something, the Emperor said, and then it copies you. The hall fell dead silent. Jalen whispered, So you kidnap humans to keep the universe moving. To keep my empire moving, the Emperor corrected. Jalen's voice broke. You're ending our champions to save yourself. The Emperor nodded. That is the cost of survival. Jalen shook his head. No, that is the cost of tyranny. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. You think your moral outrage matters? You are a single man. Jalen stepped forward. No, I'm a human. The Emperor paused. For the first time, the ancient ruler looked confused. Jalen continued. Humans don't break, we adapt. We rise, we fight, we survive. That's why we scare you. The Emperor's face hardened. You misunderstand me, human. He raised his hand. Energy crackled. Arcs of lightning danced across the throne hall. I am not afraid of your kind. He pointed directly at Jalen. I am afraid of you. Whispers spread among the alien warriors. Jalen gritted his teeth. Why me? The Emperor revealed one more secret. Because you are not just a champion, you are the catalyst, the last one, the one who triggers humanity's final ascension. Jalen felt his heartbeat stop for a moment. What does that mean? The Emperor spoke slowly. With you alive, humans rise beyond physical limits, beyond fear, beyond death. Your species becomes something the universe has never seen. He took a breath. With you dead, humanity collapses into insignificance, and my empire lives another 1,000 years. Jalen understood. The Emperor didn't want him captured. He wanted him erased. Erased from history. Erased from fate. Erased from destiny. Jalen took a step back. The Emperor smiled. You finally understand. Jalen whispered, You're not killing me to save your empire. He clenched his fists. You're killing me because you know a human can beat you. The Emperor's smile vanished. Every alien in the hall stiffened. Jalen lifted his chin. And I will. The Emperor stared at Jalen in silence. The hall, massive, ancient, filled with alien warriors, felt suddenly too small for the two of them. Every alien felt the shift. Every soldier sensed the danger. A human had just challenged the eternal Emperor to his face. No one had ever done that. The Emperor stepped closer. You speak boldly for a dying creature. Jalen didn't flinch. Maybe, but humans don't fear death. We fear regret. The Emperor tilted his head. And what do you regret, human? Jalen breathed deeply. That I arrived too late to save the others. He pointed up at the portal filled with frozen human champions. And that stops now. The Emperor's voice sharpened. You cannot free them. Jalen's voice hardened. Watch me. A ripple of anger flashed across the Emperor's face. For the first time, the ancient ruler's calm cracked. You believe you can defy inevitability? The Emperor asked. Jalen nodded. I do more than believe it, I am it. The Emperor's eyes burned with cold silver fire. Then let us test your destiny. He raised his hand. A shockwave slammed into Jalen like a meteor. Jalen flew backward, hit the floor, skidded across the polished stone, and crashed into a pillar. Pain exploded through his body. But he rose. Slow shaking, bleeding. Still rising. Whispers spread through the alien soldiers. He stood up. No one stands after a direct strike. He should be dust. Jalen wiped blood from his mouth. That all you got? The Emperor's eyes narrowed. You are an anomaly. Jalen smirked. Humans are built different. The Emperor lifted both hands this time. Energy filled the hall. Lightning, gravity, heat, pressure. A storm of ancient cosmic power. Jalen braced. The blast hit him again. This time harder. The floor cracked beneath him. The ceiling shook. The lights dimmed. Dust filled the air. Silence. Every alien held their breath. Until, slowly, Jalen pushed himself out of the crater. His armor was cracked. His left arm shook. Blood dripped down his face. But his eyes burned with something the Emperor had not seen in 10,000 years. Defiance. You should not be alive, the Emperor whispered. Jalen stepped forward. One problem, Your Majesty. He cracked his neck. Humans don't care what we're supposed to be. Shock spread across the hall. One alien general whispered. What is he? Another answered. He's human. Jalen kept walking. The Emperor lifted his hand again, but paused. Something was different. Jalen noticed too. The Emperor's fingers trembled. Just a little, but enough. Jalen saw fear. You're weakening, Jalen said. The Emperor glared. You presume too much. No, Jalen said. You're drawing power from the portal, from the trapped humans. He pointed up. Every time you use energy, you drain them harder. The Emperor hesitated. It was true. Jalen's voice sharpened. You need us more than we need you. The Emperor roared. Silence. But the roar shook not Jalen. It shook the aliens. Their morale cracked. Their faith cracked. Their belief in an invincible Emperor cracked. And Jalen saw it. He stepped forward again. You take our heroes, our legends, our champions. He looked straight into the Emperor's ancient eyes. But you forgot one thing. The Emperor clenched his fist. What? Jalen breathed in and spoke the words that terrified the Emperor most. Humans don't rise because we're chosen. He stepped closer, just a few feet away. We rise because we refuse to stay down. The air grew electric. Jalen continued. You think you pick our champions. His eyes narrowed. But we make ourselves. The Emperor's jaw tightened. Jalen finished. And I wasn't chosen, I volunteered. A shockwave burst from the Emperor, but this time not from force. From rage. You dare challenge a god, the Emperor thundered. Jalen shook his head. You're not a god. He pointed at the frozen champions. You're a parasite. Silence. Then, the Emperor's eyes glowed brighter than suns. Enough. He raised his hand slowly. The entire hall trembled. Pillars cracked. Walls shook. The portal pulsed violently. Even the alien soldiers backed away. What are you doing? Jalen demanded. The Emperor answered with a terrible calm. I tire of games. The portal above them began to spin faster. Its glow became blinding. Jalen shielded his eyes. The Emperor spoke. "You humans are the spark of evolution." He lifted both arms. "Then let me show you what happens when I extinguish the flame." The portal's light turned blood-red. Jalen shouted, "Stop!" The Emperor ignored him. "Observe, human, watch your champions die." The frozen warriors inside the portal began to dissolve, their bodies glowing as their minds were stripped apart. Jalen's heart dropped. "No," the Emperor whispered. "Goodbye, human anomalies." Jalen sprinted forward. The Emperor extended one hand, and the floor beneath Jalen shattered. Jalen fell to one knee. Gravity crashed down on him like a mountain. He couldn't move. He couldn't breathe. He looked up, the champions were fading. "In-oh-oh-oh," the Emperor whispered. "You cannot save them." Jalen's vision blurred. His body shook under the crushing force. He heard the screams of the fading humans. He felt heat from the dying portal. He tasted blood in his mouth. And then, something inside him snapped. Something ancient. Something human. Something unstoppable. His heart burned. His blood roared. His muscles screamed. And a voice inside him whispered, "Get up." Jalen roared and stood. He stood through the gravity, through the pressure, through the pain, through fate itself. The Emperor took a step back. "Impossible." The alien soldiers gasped. He resisted the Emperor. "He is breaking the gravity field." "Nothing can do that." "Nothing except—" "A human," another whispered, trembling. Jalen's eyes glowed with raw fury. "You want to kill my people." The Emperor raised both hands, summoning more power, but Jalen took another step. "And you want to end our future." Another step. "And you think destiny belongs to you." Another step. The gravity shattered. The Emperor staggered. The portal cracked. And Jalen shouted, "Then you can face Emmy yourself." The Emperor staggered backward, his arms trembling from the raw force of a human who should have been crushed. Alien soldiers whispered to each other, fear and awe battling in their minds. Jalen took a deep breath. His chest burned, his blood roared, every bone ached, but his resolve was steel. "You think you own the future," Jalen said, his voice echoing through the hall. "You think you decide which humans live or die." The Emperor's eyes glowed silver. "I am the future, I am inevitability." Jalen shook his head. "No, the future belongs to those who fight for it." The Emperor's voice dropped to a low, deadly rumble. "You still do not understand. Humans do not just inspire, they change the universe." Jalen's fists clenched. "Then I will show you how far we can go." And at that moment, the chamber trembled. The portal above, the sphere containing frozen champions, began to flicker. Energy rippled outward, resonating with something deep inside Jalen. He staggered, clutching his head. Visions flooded him. Hundreds of years of human champions, centuries of victories, countless rebellions, all flowing into one consciousness. He saw every hero, the first human who resisted alien conquest, the brilliant tactician who outsmarted an entire fleet, the scientist who altered the course of a dying planet, every one of them pulsing through him, whispering, screaming, urging him forward. "Use it. Rise. Defy." Jalen's eyes snapped open. The pain and weight turned into clarity. He understood something no human had ever known before. The Emperor was powerful, yes, but he was finite. And humans were infinite. The Emperor roared, sending arcs of energy toward Jalen, intending to annihilate him completely. But Jalen did not flinch. He raised his hands, not to defend, but to absorb. The energy met him. It should have torn him apart. It should have killed him. Instead, it flowed through him, merging with the pulse of human champions above. The portal began to crack and vibrate. Every frozen human reacted. Their eyes glowed, their bodies trembling, their power channeling through Jalen. The Emperor's voice shook. Impossible, humans cannot channel this, not even one should. But it wasn't just one anymore. It was all of them flowing through Jalen. You've been feeding off us for centuries, Jalen shouted, and you've only made us stronger. The hall trembled violently. Cracks ran along the walls. Alien soldiers fell to their knees, screaming, as uncontrolled bursts of energy surged outward. The Emperor staggered, his ancient control slipping. And then a whisper, a voice older than the stars, echoed inside Jalen's mind. Use it, you are the spark, become the catalyst. Jalen clenched his fists. His eyes blazed with pure light. He took a step forward, another. The Emperor raised both hands, summoning the raw fury of the cosmos to crush him. But Jalen didn't dodge, he didn't flinch. Instead, he walked straight into it, letting the universe's destructive energy pass through him and transform. The air shimmered, the hall warped. Gravity twisted, time slowed. Every alien in the room felt an ancient, primal terror. They weren't just watching a human fight, they were witnessing a force of evolution incarnate. Jalen roared, his voice carried through the hall, through the minds, across the stars. Humanity will not kneel. A wave of energy erupted outward, hitting the Emperor full force. The portal cracked completely, sending shards of energy raining down. Jalen felt the energy of every human champion converge into one unstoppable wave. The Emperor fell to his knees. For the first time in 10,000 years, he had been humbled. Powerless, Jalen didn't strike immediately. He stepped closer. His presence alone radiated impossible confidence and authority. You've ruled through fear, Jalen said, voice steady, echoing. You've stolen our heroes, you've tried to extinguish our fire, but you forgot one thing. He looked around the hall. Every alien soldier, every Vora officer, every observer was watching. Jalen spoke slowly, deliberately. Humans do not fight because we must. We fight because we can. We fight because we choose. And you are about to learn what happens when you take choice from a human. The Emperor tried to rise, energy crackling around him, but the room's gravity shifted violently. The portal's shards struck him. The frozen champion's power surged into Jalen, and he became a living conduit of human defiance and ingenuity. And then something incredible happened. Jalen's body began to transform, not in size, not in form, but in presence. It was subtle but unmistakable. Every soldier could feel it. He radiated something alien, something divine, something that carried millennia of human willpower. The Emperor's voice faltered. This should not be possible. Jalen's eyes burned silver and gold, reflecting the energy of 1,000 human champions. His voice, carrying both fury and hope, echoed across the hall. I am not just Jalen Cross. I am every human who ever defied you. I am the spark of our species. I am the catalyst. And with that, he lifted his hands and released the stored energy, not to destroy, but to liberate. The portal shattered completely. Frozen human champions began to awaken, their eyes alight with intelligence, courage, and the fire of freedom. Every one of them stepped forward, joining Jalen, forming a line of unstoppable resolve. The Emperor, still kneeling, could do nothing. For the first time, he understood that he had underestimated the human spirit. He had harvested them for centuries, and in doing so, he had created a weapon against himself. Jalen spoke again, calm and resolute. You wanted to use us. You wanted to control us. But you forgot that humans cannot be controlled. We rise, we fight, and we endure. And today, your empire learns the truth. No power in the galaxy can crush a human. The Vora Emperor's silver eyes widened as energy cascaded around him. The alien soldiers looked on, fear and awe mixing. Even the Emperor's most loyal generals faltered. For the first time, they understood that the universe itself was shifting. Jalen took a final step toward the Emperor. The age of fear is over, he said. Your reign ends because humanity never stops. The Emperor lifted his head, eyes blazing. And for the first time in millennia, he smiled, not with pride but with fear. Plot twist. The Emperor was not the only ancient being watching. Far above, hidden in the void between stars, something older than him stirred. And it had noticed Jalen. The void beyond the throne hall pulsed with a presence older than stars. Something so ancient that even the Vora Emperor, who had ruled for 10,000 years, felt insignificant in its gaze. Jalen stood among the awakened champions, his chest still blazing with raw energy. The Emperor had survived, yes, but his power was no longer absolute. Even his loyal soldiers had begun to question what they had served for centuries. A low hum resonated through the hall. The walls shook. Dust fell from the ceilings. And then the portal above, now shattered, started to reform, without the Emperor's control. A being of energy, light, and raw consciousness emerged. It floated above the throne hall, its form ever shifting, impossible to fully comprehend. It was the origin entity, the first witness to life in the galaxy, a consciousness that had observed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. The Emperor's silver eyes widened in fear for the first time. "You," he whispered, "you were supposed to be controlled." Jalen stepped forward, chest heaving. His body still radiated the combined energy of human champions past and present. He looked up at the entity, and for the first time he felt a connection, not just to humans but to the universe itself. The entity spoke, not with words but directly into consciousness. The spark is alive, the human rises, the balance shifts. Jalen felt the meaning instantly. This was not just a fight for Ravel 9, or even for humanity. This was a test for the entire galaxy. For life itself. The Emperor faltered. "You cannot command it. I am the eternal. I am inevitability itself," he shouted. Jalen raised his head. "I don't need to command it. I am part of it. You only ever used humans to feed your empire, but we are more than fuel. We are creators. We are changers. And today we decide our own fate." The entity pulsed, responding to Jalen. Its energy rippled into him and the other human champions. Visions of countless worlds, civilizations rising and falling, stars collapsing and reforming, all flowed into his consciousness. He could feel the very threads of history bending around his presence. The Emperor roared, unleashing the full might of his ancient energy. It should have been unstoppable. It should have crushed Jalen instantly. But the human champions, awakened and united, formed a living shield around him. Their energy flowed into Jalen, amplifying his power, making him more than human. More than a single being. He became the embodiment of human will across millennia. Jalen focused on one thing, the survival of his people. The liberation of humanity. The end of tyranny. And then he acted. He thrust both hands forward, releasing a wave of energy that merged human determination, memory, and imagination into a force that even the Emperor could not withstand. The Emperor screamed. The throne hall trembled. Every alien soldier was thrown to the floor. Even the origin entity pulsed with interest, but did not intervene. Jalen's power struck the Emperor directly. It didn't destroy him, not yet. Instead, it shattered the Emperor's control over his empire. Ships across the galaxy felt it. Command stations, fleets, and colonies suddenly experienced anomalies. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Emperor's will faltered. Humans began to rise, even on distant worlds, sensing the shift in cosmic balance. The Emperor collapsed to one knee. He looked up at Jalen with eyes filled with disbelief, anger, and fear. "You cannot be this strong, no mortal." "Not mortal," Jalen interrupted, "human." The awakened champions surrounded him, forming a circle of living energy, ready to defend or strike as one. And at that moment, the Emperor realized something fundamental. Humans weren't just unpredictable. They weren't just resistant. They were the catalyst of evolution itself. Jalen raised his voice, echoing through the hall. "This ends now. Your empire will no longer enslave our people. Our heroes will no longer be harvested. And you will no longer control our destiny." The Emperor raised his hands in desperation. Energy flared around him, creating a storm of destruction. Jalen smiled, calm and resolute. You rely on fear. We rely on courage. You rely on power. We rely on will. You rely on inevitability. We rely on choice. The wave of energy erupted outward. The Emperor screamed as his forces shattered. The portal, now fully destabilized, began to collapse in on itself, releasing the frozen human champions. One by one they awoke, fully alive, fully aware, and fully determined. A single truth emerged. No empire, no ancient ruler, no force in the galaxy could suppress humanity's spark. And the Emperor realized that his centuries of control, his endless harvesting, his tyranny, had created the very weapon he could not defeat. The galaxy itself seemed to hum in response to Jalen's rising power. Stars flickered, space warped slightly, and for the first time the origin entity moved closer, observing the human who had defied time, fate, and eternity. Its presence was overwhelming, but it was not hostile. It was curious. It was testing Jalen, and Jalen understood the final piece of the puzzle. Humans were never meant to be controlled. They were meant to ignite change, to reshape the universe, and to defy impossible odds. He turned to the Emperor, calm now, but unstoppable. This is your final warning. Leave our people, leave our worlds, or face the consequences of a species that will never bow. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. He knew the prophecy had begun, and he knew deep down that he might finally meet his match. The Emperor's voice was low, almost reverent. So this is the human who challenges destiny itself. Jalen nodded. Yes, and I will not stop. The galaxy trembled in anticipation. The throne hall had become a storm of light, energy, and sheer willpower. Cracks ran through the floor. Dust and debris floated in the air. The awakened human champions formed a glowing ring around Jalen, their combined presence amplifying his power to unimaginable levels. The Emperor, ancient and terrifying, rose slowly from his knees. His silver eyes burned with fury, disbelief, and fear. He extended both hands, summoning the full might of the galaxy's energies he had hoarded for 10,000 years. Stars seemed to flicker through his fingers. The air itself warped under the strain. Do you think you can destroy me, human? He thundered. You are nothing, you are mortal. You cannot wield the universe itself. Jalen stepped forward unshaken. His eyes blazed. Every champion's energy pulsed through him. The air around him hummed with the force of human will multiplied across centuries. I am not alone, Jalen said calmly, his voice cutting through the Emperor's roar. I am every human who ever stood against tyranny. Everyone who refused to bow. Everyone who believed they could make a difference. He lifted his hands. The energy from the awakened champions surged outward, merging with the energy the Emperor summoned. For the first time, the two forces collided. The impact was catastrophic. Shockwaves shattered pillars. The hall trembled. Time seemed to stretch and contract. The Emperor roared, striking Jalen with blasts of cosmic energy. But Jalen did not falter. Every strike he absorbed, he transformed. Every attack fueled him, and the champions, combined, will make him stronger. You cannot endure this, the Emperor screamed. I am inevitability itself. Jalen smiled, a calm, terrifying smile. You mistake control for power, he said. You mistake fear for strength. You mistake rules for destiny. Power without purpose is meaningless. Fear without resistance is worthless. I am humanity, and we never give up. With those words he struck. Not with energy, not with violence. With will. He focused every ounce of human courage, ingenuity, and defiance into a single point of intention. The energy field around him exploded outward, enveloping the Emperor. Time slowed. The hall seemed to vanish. Stars blurred and reformed. The Emperor's roar became a whisper. The Emperor struggled, but the force was unstoppable. Jalen's power was not brute strength. It was the will of a species, concentrated into a single human. For the first time, the Emperor realized that he had miscalculated entirely. "You cannot," he gasped. "This is impossible." Jalen raised his voice. "You underestimated humans. You underestimated choice. You underestimated courage. Your empire is ending because it was built on fear, not hope." The portal of champions above glowed brighter, feeding into Jalen. One by one, they projected their memories, experiences, and strategies into the Emperor's mind. He saw every rebellion he had crushed, every hero he had taken, every plan he had implemented. And he realized the truth. Humans cannot be broken. Humans cannot be controlled. The Emperor's power faltered. His strike slowed. His body shimmered with energy, unstable and wild. Jalen stepped closer, his eyes meeting the Emperor's. "You wanted to harvest our champions. You wanted to consume our spark. But all you did was create your own undoing." A blinding light erupted from Jalen. The Emperor was lifted off the floor, suspended in the human energy storm. His hands, which once held the galaxy itself, now trembled uncontrollably. For the first time, the Eternal Emperor felt fear. The human champions channeled every ounce of their collective experience into Jalen. They shared memories of survival, sacrifice, courage, and ingenuity. Every one of them had defied impossible odds, and now they were combined in a crescendo of unstoppable force. The Emperor tried to resist, but it was futile. The combined human will was not just raw energy, it was evolution made manifest. It restructured reality around it. It rewrote the rules of physics in the room. It shattered centuries of tyranny in seconds. Jalen raised both hands toward the Emperor. "I am humanity. I am every spark you ever tried to extinguish. And now your reign ends." With a final push, the energy of human champions surged through Jalen into the Emperor. The chamber exploded in a wave of blinding light. Time fractured. Space trembled. And then silence. When the light faded, the Emperor lay on the floor, powerless. The human champions hovered, fully awake, fully alive. The throne hall was a ruin, but the humans stood tall. Jalen looked at the Emperor. "You have lost, not because of me, but because you underestimated humanity." The Emperor, for the first time, spoke quietly, almost reverently. "You are the spark. The galaxy will never forget you." Jalen did not gloat. He extended a hand to the Emperor. "Change can begin," he said. "And it starts with hope, not fear." The Emperor hesitated, then nodded slowly. Not in surrender, but in understanding. The awakened champions gathered around Jalen. They were free. They were alive. And they were humanity's living testament to courage, ingenuity, and unbreakable will. The galaxy would remember this day. Not as the day humans fell, but as the day humans rose. The throne hall was silent but alive. Shattered pillars glowed faintly. Dust floated lazily in shafts of light. The Emperor, once the unchallenged master of the galaxy, lay humbled, powerless, and quiet. Jalen's chest heaved. His body still hummed with the energy of the champions, but he was fully in control now. He glanced at the awakened humans around him. Their eyes sparkled with newfound freedom, their bodies strong, their wills unstoppable. Myra ran to him. Her face was bruised, her clothes torn, but she smiled. "You did it," she whispered. Jalen nodded, a tired but triumphant smile on his face. "It's not just me," he said. "It's all of us, every human who ever stood against impossible odds." The Emperor stirred, looking up at Jalen. "I underestimated you," he admitted quietly. "You are a force beyond measure. And your species is unlike any other in the galaxy." Jalen knelt beside him. "You don't have to destroy to lead. You can choose to change. We'll help you if you're willing." The Emperor's silver eyes softened slightly. For the first time in millennia, he felt humility. He nodded, and then across the galaxy, signals started to change. The Vora fleets faltered. Colonies that had cowered for centuries began to rise. The Empire's grip weakened. Hope, long thought extinct, spread like wildfire. The Origin entity observed silently from the void, its energy pulsing in response to humanity's triumph. It had tested countless species. It had seen civilizations rise and fall, but never had one reached such heights through sheer will alone. Jalen felt it too. A whisper in his mind, not threatening, not commanding, but understanding. You are the spark, you are the catalyst. The universe remembers humans now. Jalen exhaled deeply. The weight of the moment pressed down on him, but he smiled. For the first time, humans were not pawns, not survivors, not victims. They were legends. Myra gripped his arm. What happens now? She asked. Jalen looked at her. Now, he said softly, we rebuild. We protect our people. We prepare for the galaxy we are about to shape. Every champion nodded. They understood that the battle had been won, but the war for the galaxy's future had only begun. And in the silence, Jalen realized something deeper. The Emperor's empire had been vast but fragile. It relied on fear and control. Humans relied on choice, courage, and imagination. In the long game, choice would always win. The Emperor stood slowly, finally in peace. He raised his hands, sending a signal across the galaxy. Humans will not be harmed. The Empire will change. We will learn. And somewhere deep in the void, the Origin entity pulsed again. It had watched history unfold and had seen humanity rise to a new era. Jalen's voice echoed, calm but resolute. We are not just survivors. We are humans, and the galaxy will never forget us again. Weeks passed. News traveled across star systems. Humans, long underestimated, were now seen as legends. Jalen stood on the bridge of a recovered Vora flagship, overlooking a fleet of humans and allied species. Ships of all sizes, colors, and designs moved in formation. A coalition of freedom and hope. Myra approached, her smile bright. People are calling you the catalyst, she said. Jalen chuckled. Not me, he replied. It's all of us. Every human who dared to rise. Every human who refused to bow. We're the spark that ignites the galaxy. The Emperor visited him personally. He was no longer a tyrant, but a student of change. He studied humanity, curious and cautious. He approached Jalen humbly. You have shown me something my empire could never teach, the Emperor said. Your species is not just a threat, you are a guide. Perhaps the galaxy will survive because of you. Jalen nodded. Survival is one thing, change is another. And humans are made for both. Across the fleet, humans cheered. Alien allies looked on, astonished. Legends long hidden had awakened. Stories of Jalen Cross, the human who challenged an ancient emperor, spread across systems. Songs, poems, reports, all immortalizing the moment a single human changed the fate of the galaxy. But Jalen knew the story was far from over. The galaxy was vast. Threats still existed. New enemies would rise. And humans, now recognized as a force of nature, would need to remain vigilant. Yet for the first time, Jalen felt hope, not just for himself, not just for humanity, but for the entire galaxy. Humans had proven that courage, ingenuity, and the refusal to bow could reshape destinies. And then came the final revelation, one that even Jalen had not expected. The Origin entity whispered again, more clearly this time. Humans are not merely part of the galaxy. They are its pulse, its memory, its future. Jalen smiled. He looked at Myra. Do you understand what this means? She nodded. It means we are never just survivors. We are humanity. And we are unstoppable. The Emperor knelt, accepting the truth of his own limits. All around them, the galaxy seemed to breathe easier. Stars shone brighter. Life felt lighter. History had shifted. Jalen whispered to himself. This is only the beginning. The story of Jalen Cross, the human who challenged an ancient alien emperor, spread across star systems. It became legend. It became inspiration. But for humans, it was a lesson. Courage is more powerful than tyranny. Hope is stronger than fear. Choice is the greatest weapon in the universe. Jalen stood on the bridge, looking out into the stars. Myra stood beside him. The awakened champions worked around them, preparing for a galaxy that was no longer under fear, but open to possibility. "Do you think they'll ever forget us?" Myra asked. Jalen smiled. "Forget, no, but that's not the point. It's not about being remembered. It's about proving that humans can rise. Always." He turned to the camera, or rather, the audience across the galaxy. "This is what it means to be human. To fight when all hope seems lost. To challenge the impossible. And to never, ever give up." The Emperor, once a figure of terror, now stood quietly. He watched humans work together, innovate, and lead. And in that quiet observation, even he learned something he had never understood. Humans were not just clever, not just resilient. They were the galaxy's greatest hope. The ships prepared to depart Ravel 9, carrying humans and allies to new frontiers. Jalen and Myra walked to the edge of the cliff, overlooking the moon. The stars stretched endlessly above. "Where to next?" Myra asked. Jalen smiled, looking at the horizon. "Wherever humans are needed," he said. "Wherever freedom is threatened. Wherever courage can make a difference." And as the fleet lifted off, moving into the stars, one thing was certain. The galaxy would never forget the human who refused to bow. The galaxy would never forget that humans rise. And Jalen Cross, he would continue the fight. Not for glory, not for power, but for hope, for humanity, for the universe. Humans are capable of more than they realize. Courage, choice, and imagination can change destinies. Even the most impossible odds can be overcome. If this story inspired you, here's what to do next. 1. Subscribe for more epic HFY adventures. 2. Like and share if you believe humans can rise against impossible odds. 3. Comment below. If you were Jalen, which human champion's legacy would you channel? 4. Watch the next video to explore other legendary HFY battles across the galaxy. The universe is vast, the stories are endless, and humans will always rise.